All right. Well, thank you all, everybody, for being here. Welcome to the Recreation Committee meeting for February 21st, 2023. I really appreciate everybody being here. I know some had a 3-day weekend, or maybe Recreation had a 2-day instead of a 3-day weekend. But I know it's tough when you're coming back trying to play catch up after having a day off. So I appreciate you being here, especially since it's such a gorgeous day. And happy Shrove Tuesday for those of you who celebrate that. And I hope that you eat your fill tonight if you get some pancakes maybe. But yeah, a little Fat Tuesday Mardi Gras night. So we are called to order. If you would, we could just take just a moment of silence, please. Amen. Thank you. All right. We had a joint meeting of Special Facilities and Recreation on December 19th. And Jennifer sent those meeting minutes out, I think last Friday when she sent the agenda. Can I please ask for someone to motion to approve those minutes, please?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes have been approved. And next on our agenda, we have the Enterprise Manager Report. Justin Braddock couldn't be with us right now, but he's done a great job. He's been working hard, and Lori's going to give us an update on that.
Thank you, Councilmember Shealy. I don't want to steal his thunder because he and our marketing coordinator, Bethany Doman, have worked very hard for the last several months. Their work has been really heavily on looking at our sponsorship package and how we can better present ourselves to businesses and area agencies that might want to align with our mission and what's going on in our rec department. And last week, after a lot of hard work, they managed to ink a deal with the Charleston River Dogs that's going to result in $15,000 in cash, which is the first. We've had a great longstanding relationship with our partners over at the River Dogs. Mr. Dave Eccles is here today, and he may want to say a few words, but this is the first time we've been able to do that. And so I really hope this is the start of some new activity to help bring in some additional revenues into Parks and Recreation that we can turn back into our program. So very proud of Justin, and Bethany Doman worked very hard. Dave, would you like to say anything? No. I'm very appreciative of that. He's working with some other businesses, and if you know of anyone that is in the community that might be interested in talking to Justin, please get in touch with me and I'll connect you with him because he's really out working. Councilmember Shealy made a connection over the weekend for us, and we're appreciative of that. So anything we can do to bring in some additional revenue will assist us. And so that's great work.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Mr. Mayor?
So I would just like to invite him to come to the next meeting, put him back on the agenda so we can all council committee members and council members get to know him personally. And I think it would be helpful if he would let us know kind of what he's looking for, kind of what he's working for, because, you know, sometimes the mayor or a council member might have some connection with, oh, I know that company, sure. Or I, you know, just connect a dot for him and help.
Absolutely,
help
Mayor.
with the sales call. I mean, I think we should all be on deck to be able to help make those requests when we know somebody that would be appropriate.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
Justin's in a great position for the city. He's starting a job that no one had before him.
Right.
And if you've ever done that in your life, you don't get the here's the files, pick them up and run. You have to figure out what you're doing. So he has really spent a lot of time with our consultant, Tom O'Rourke, kind of working through those because it's such a different position than anything else in our recreation department. So I will definitely have him at our next meeting and let him make a presentation to you all.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. So you know that in the last couple of Recreation Committee meetings, we've talked about tennis courts and we've talked about lights on the tennis court. And I had asked Lori if she'd give us an update on tennis courts.
Jason, you want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. So we have 2 lighting projects that are ongoing right now. We have Maybank Tennis Center and Charleston Tennis Center. So Been a little bit of start and stop based on supply of materials. So the contractors at Charleston Tennis Center, and that work should be complete by the end of the week. And that is just swapping out fixture for fixture on existing poles. So those are LED lights, and they're smart, so we can tell them when to turn on and when to turn off. Then they're gonna move over to Maybank Tennis Center after they're finished over at Charleston Tennis Center, and continue on that work where they have to install a couple extra poles, but they're also replacing the existing lights from the old GE sports lighters to the new LED lights. So we're on a good track.
Great. Thank you very much. I know that people will be excited to have the new lighting and all the advancements of the tennis centers. So any questions? Members? Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think y'all remember when we had our meeting last time, we had Bart Altman on with who was heads up kind of the disc golf community, and gave us some great information on disc golf, and Lori and Jason's done a great job of working with him. So I thought we'd have a report on that as well, if we could, please.
So we went out and walked the course, and we've removed the dangerous steps. We've barricaded a couple of the little areas that are not fixed yet. So we're going to install some earthen steps where the old steps were. Basically, these were steps that were built to traverse and remnant phosphate mine pile that what that whole area was originally. And so we're going to install some timber type steps in the side of the earthen work. So it'll just be a little bit more user friendly. And then work orders have been created for all of the other little decks and boardwalks that need to be repaired. Just haven't gotten to them yet.
Great. Thank you for your work on that.
And then Councilmember Shealy is a double team with Jason on that. So while they've been working really hard on the facilities end, I've met with Bart twice now. And I've walked the course with him. Thank goodness we walked it before all that rain, because I don't really think I would have probably made it through 18 holes. It was pretty wet out there even then, but he's done a remarkable job of taking a couple of tools in himself and just really working hard out there. And he's very proud of what he's done. So he has gone ahead and put in a permit to use Hampton Park in December of 2023 to have a disc golf tournament, which is one of the things they really wanted. He and his group really wanted to do was go back to Hampton and have a tournament with, and they'll provide all of the equipment and all of the baskets. So we're working with him on that. And then he would also like to have a couple of things at West Ashley Park. And so I'm working with him on that. And he's coming in Thursday. We're going to have him meet with Justin, our enterprise manager, about potentially figuring out some ways that we might be able to sponsor some of the baskets by wrapping them in a sponsor material and maybe doing a couple of tournaments with them to find some sponsors. So we're kind of marrying up those two things together. And Bart's really excited about the interest that the city's taken back in disc golf and that sport.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments or questions? Mr. Mayor?
So we considered, I know when we had the discussion with him before, there was thought of improving that one that badly needed improvements, but also thinking about other locations where even if we couldn't do 18, we might consider doing 9. But anyway, are we thinking about any other locations? I don't know if we have.
I haven't worked on that yet. No. We have John Dallin Park, which is an existing course. We'll just put our thinking caps on.
It's not really being utilized for anything right now. It's not far from the West Ashley Park. But I think the comment there wasn't big enough to do 18 holes. Anyway.
Yeah, you need a pretty good footprint because golf disc are like golf balls. So you have to have lots of open space
Mhm.
because those frisbees are going pretty quick. A lot of them are thin and pretty dense.
Mhm.
So it's pretty neat. I don't know if you've ever played or not, but there's a putter, there's a driver, and there's all different weights, and they fly differently. They go left and right. Some of them
Yeah.
are stable, like a set of clubs, right?
Right.
But it's got a lot of velocity, and you have to have a lot of open space.
I played in the day when you had one club. That was the good old frisbee and that was it. Whammo.
Any other questions, guys? Anything? I mean, I am excited that he's going to talk with Justin Braddock and, I think there's some big opportunities there. Lori was just saying that I came across an opportunity maybe for Justin to sit down with a business owner that's right outside of West Ashley Park, and adult sports like this would be a fit for that particular business that I was talking to. It may be a win-win for everybody. So I'm excited that Justin's going to be working with disc golf, and I think there's some good opportunities there, maybe some great opportunities there. So, anything else on disc golf before we move on? All right, we had a request for some pickleball storage on down at Bees Landing, I think, and I'm gonna ask, I think, Jason to speak on that, or Lori, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably a tag team. We get a lot of
Okay.
requests for one-off storage. And we just gotta figure out how to management if that's how the city wants to do this. So people that want to have a work box there and have equipment in it, but again, it's a little bit uncharted territory for us. How do we implement something for all? And then if it's not for all, then everybody wants a one-off box. I mean, that's the big picture. I don't know if Lori has any more thoughts on that.
Sure, and Jason's right. We've had these requests come in before, and we've used them with our own staff sometimes, with sports where we don't have the storage at a location. We've used them for youth sports, put a ball machine in or something. But actually, Don White, who's with us today, is I'll use the word pickleball enthusiast. He was the one that had asked, could we do this so that some nets could be stored on site so that groups could, when they got there, they could use them. And I know that Council Member Parker was trying to get that moving, and we've talked to legal, and there is a way to do it. We're kind of working through the motions of how that would work, but the reason why it takes a little bit of thinking is you got to figure out how you're going to put signage and information on there so that everybody that shows up would understand why it's locked, when it's open, when the group gets the stuff out, how you might contact them so that you could get the equipment out and use it. So we're trying to work through some of those, but Julia Copeland has kind of given the okay to do it as long as we're going to do it. And I think Mr. Kronsberg asked that Recreation be the coordinator of that. And so we'll be the coordinator. So anyway, we're kind of working through that right now, but I think that's something we can get across the goal line.
All right, great. And I think most of us know that where this came from. The pickleball community had asked for some pickleball lines to be put on some courts several months ago. And we worked through that, got some lines put down. And now they're in a situation where they have separate nets to play their pickleball games, and they're trying to find an easier solution than someone having to pack it up, put it in your trunk, and physically bring it so that it would already be there is kind of where this came from. So. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so I spoke with Mr. White and Laurie at a rec commission meeting. I understand. So y'all have worked through that. This is and again, I know I missed the enterprise manager report, but this is just a key component again of our community contributing to a city facility in order for them to have easier access to their equipment. I think this is a very low risk situation. I'm not an attorney. I'm not the Parks Department. I'm not recreation, but I certainly think that this is a feasible solution. And I thank you, Mr. White, for your community and, contributing for your contributions for this box. The signage, I think, was sort of where we fell. So you're going to take responsibility. And again, there's not a whole lot of responsibility. I mean, if people want to know about it, they'll have a number to call.
Sure.
And then you would then put them in touch with, so someone in your department will answer the phone and they'll put them in the department. So I just want to make sure, when we're here today, are we okay? Can we give Julia the go ahead to do this MOU?
Yeah, that's my understanding is that we
Okay.
were going to go ahead and move forward if that was something that you all wanted. And, in the case of Mr. White, Don and I email as often as he needs something. And so when you have someone active like that in your community, it makes something like this a lot easier. What happens is sometimes folks have really great ideas or a lot of energy and then they run out of it. And in 3 years, Jason and I've got a rusted contractor box sitting in the back of a park getting beat up and tagged and stuff like that with graffiti. So I think it'll work really well with this group of volunteers because they're so active and they're out there using it so much. So.
Great. And sorry, Mr. Chairman, if Julia's on the line, again, I assume an MOU like this, if that's the case, if this community abandons this box, we have every right to remove it. I mean, that's the idea with the MOU. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate Parks and Rec, doing this for them. I think it's a win-win for all. So thanks.
And
Don, y'all wanted it at Bees Landing? Yes, probably won't be long till Alan Fleming, but Bees Landing is where we're going to start it.
And Councilmember Brady is aware and he's supportive as well.
And just so you know, the reason that we would talk about it like this is that when I came to the city and I moved into this position and the one prior, there were lots of things that came out of the woodworks that didn't have any agreement, that nobody knew about. And it was years of things like that being asked about. And I was like, we don't have any record of this. We don't know what you're talking about. So if we just get it memorialized, then when we're all gone, at least there's something there. And it's just a good way to track it.
And again, just a great contribution, great contribution. So thank you.
Yeah, Councilmember Saccharine.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if I missed this. I wasn't paying attention. Are we going back to the lights on the tennis courts?
Well, we can in a moment. If you need us to, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I had received an email from Marcia Higgins and she had some questions. So I want to make sure I did ask those questions, but I do want to say in regards to the pickleball, Corinne Jones, Hester Park, Lori and Jason, awesome job. I was down there yesterday with my kids, not playing pickleball, but those courts are fully being utilized. And it's a sight to see when you go on a day like yesterday when a lot of folks had off. The basketball courts were being utilized, the field is being utilized, the tennis courts are being utilized. And it was just a nice sight to see on a nice day. So thank you both for all your hard work.
Thank you, Councilman Saccharine. Appreciate that. And while we're on pickleball, I guess, is there any update at all on the North Bridge area, Park Shore? Nothing on that. Okay. Very good. Mr. White, would you want to say anything?
It's very committed group, looking for more new people into the loop. And we really, I'm sorry. Once again, I'd like to express my appreciation for Council Member Parker's effort and Lori's effort and Jason's effort on our behalf to get our community more involved. It was communicated to me by Council Member Parker that nothing speaks action like actually doing things. And we were able to do that, getting the community involved. We really look forward to this and we do appreciate your effort. We understand the difficulties long terms of things disappearing through the cracks. And we will do whatever it takes to make sure that your efforts on our behalf are well appreciated.
Thank you very much and appreciate you taking the time to come down and see us too. Thank you so much. Okay. Anything else on pickleball while we're at it? I don't, Mr. Mayor.
So, Laurie and Jason may have responded to me and I'm maybe not caught up on all my emails, but I saw that request from some citizens willing to pay for the installation of another court over at Moultrie Playground. And I just wondered what y'all thought about that, or did that have any legs? I thought particularly since the citizens were willing to raise money to pay for the improvements, it was
So
worth.
Jason and I had a meeting
considering.
last week with one of the individuals who's moved our community and is a avid player. And you know, he was asking about the possibility, could more courts be added there since it is such a nice location? I think Jason and I, and I'll let him speak for himself, we're both concerned about losing some of the grass area from that park. Moultrie is really shrunk when you start looking at the beautiful renovations that have occurred, but I think we looked at it and determined that there could be 2 courts that could be placed adjacent to the 2 that are there and still leave that long rectangle so that athletics could use that for doing things. You know, Moultrie's a neighborhood park. There's no real parking there. There's the restrooms are kind of over by the tennis courts and all. So I think that's a really good compromise. And we certainly left that meeting with him going forward with that information about the city's willingness to work with him.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to that point, Mr. Mayor, I just think these are fabulous opportunities of our community coming together. I would fully support, that. I understand that there's a lot of other things, just like being with a pickleball box, but these are fabulous opportunities that our community is willing to step up and say, we know there are needs, we want to do it. I mean, in a short amount of time, they raised the money for the box and all of this, and I just think that's great. So I'm in full support.
All right, very good. I don't think we need to vote on anything on this, do we? Okay. Okay, good. All right. Well, very good. If there's nothing else on pickleball, we'll move on to our next item, which is a discussion on the current city youth sports participation, the number of fields and groups receiving permits. And I appreciate Jason Saccharin asking for this as well. So thank you.
All right, IT, y'all ready? Scary, we're not so Can everybody see that wants to see? So yes, it's. Councilmember Saccharin has been following some email exchange for some folks that are looking for fields, outside groups that come to the city routinely, especially this time of year, looking for field use for private teams and for private uses. And so he had asked for a report on this just to kind of better understand what we currently have, what we offer, what we use, and then the relationships we're in between different agencies and ourselves. So Councilmember Saccharin, if at the end of this, I don't cover something, I tried to make some notes, I'll try to cover them, but if I don't cover something, please remind me and I'll go back and hit that, okay? So we'll start off. So this first portion, excuse me, is a report on youth sports participation. And we took it back to 2013, which was about the time we started using Rec Track and being able to capture how many registrations we had for each area. So they're broken into the different areas. You'll see we have 4 boroughs out. Johns Island's not up here because we don't actually have staff that are on Johns Island working daily with those folks. So most of our Johns Island people will either go to James Island, or if they're in the farther end, they'll go to West Ashley since they're close to Bees Landing. But kind of shows you these numbers. So the way these graphs work, these are winter sports, spring, fall. And this is the total just for the peninsula over the last 9 years. You can clearly see where we went in 2020. We had COVID. So we were in March of that season when that started. And then we stopped everything, and then we did go back and have a smaller fall. So you'll kind of see that trend in all of the areas that way. But the bottom line numbers have now responded back to where we're beyond COVID numbers. We've rallied back. We're having higher participation than we had prior to that. The only area that you're going to see a little bit of a problem with is in our peninsula. And I will clearly tell you that there are less kids living downtown and participating in our sports. We see it in the housing communities. There's just less children out there. And so part of that has been some of that loss. Tackle football has been a loss that we've had each fall. But we've rebounded in the last few years by adding flag football, and our soccer numbers are up. Across the nation, all of the sports and parks and rec departments, you're seeing a drop in tackle football with those younger ages. I understand, obviously, there's a lot of moms and dads that are very concerned about safety. There's plenty of time for tackle on down the road, and tackle football is expensive. It's about $300, $350 to outfit a kid in tackle football equipment. We have a lot of flag football that's played, and that sport requires a lot less money and things put in. So these are just the numbers of families, kids that register just with the city of Charleston each season to play sports. So right now, our athletic department, which is run by Rob Cooper and all of her staff, there's how many coordinators? You have 8? 11 coordinators, sorry. So we're just now winter basketball, we'll be playing all stars, and then we'll go in spring. So James Island's gonna have that many kids at least playing this spring. That's between baseball, softball, soccer. You look at it on Daniel Island, the numbers are here. And then on West Ashley, there'll be almost 1,400 kids. That's a lot of kids on our fields in the next couple of weeks. It'll start up. So while we have all of those kids going, we also have cross country going across the city. We have a track program. It's picked up some numbers. We're pretty excited about that. We're going to be at Stoney Field for the first time this year. So we're pretty excited about being at Stoney. We're running middle school sports citywide, wrestling, a volleyball program in the fall citywide, our gymnastics is citywide year round. Here's our adult sports. This is our year round swim team. We're maxed out at 300 kids. We can't take any more kids on our swim team. And we're getting ready to start the elementary middle school tennis program with another 1,100 kids this spring. So citywide, there's a lot of action, a lot of things going on in our parks and on our fields, just by what families that sign up with us do. So I'm gonna, if anybody has any questions, I'll answer them. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Councilor Shealy?
Thank you. I see that James Island's a little bit ahead of West Ashley, which kind of surprises me a little bit because West Ashley's such a large community, but I guess maybe James Island's pulling from John's Island. I know they have gymnastics and swimming, maybe that's not, I don't know. I'm just
Well,
guessing.
Say this about James Island. So there's really no one else offering anything on James Island.
Oh,
We have
gotcha.
the James Island Soccer Club, which is a private soccer club, and they do pull, but they're more expensive than us, and they have a volunteer requirement. So if you live on Johns Island, Folly Beach, James Island, and we've got a situation where we're working with the town of James Island, where if you're a town resident, they'll reimburse the city for that difference between residency and non-residency. And West Ashley is large. It's very large. A lot of those kids are probably playing private sports. You also have St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds, and that's a great note. These first couple of years here with St. Andrews, we were still combined with, in West Ashley, we were combined with St. Andrews Parks and Playgrounds. We had a ways agreement then. Some of you, if you've been around a while, you remember that word. Since started here, though, we don't. So all these numbers we've added have all been back in our own programs.
Okay. Great.
Daniel Island is another one that has a large number of young families now. When we first got some facilities on Daniel Island, we were just starting to see kids in the 5 and 6 and 7, 8, and now those kids have grown and they've stayed with us. We actually pull some kids from Mount Pleasant if they live close to Daniel Island. They live on the area side where the port is, Bell Hall, all that community. It's shorter distance to jump on 526 and drive to us than it is to drive all the way out to Park West or Carolina Park. So, you know, I'm real pleased with where we are. I think what we do is great. We do all of that with 11 coordinators and about 3,000 volunteer coaches. So those are people that are not being paid. Those are folks that are moms and dads and sometimes grandpas who come back because they had so much fun coaching the first time, they come back again. So those are all the things that are happening in your city right now in all these areas on our fields. All right. So I'm going to just go through and show you what fields we have access to. So I start with Daniel Island. So you'll see we have Governor's Park right here off of 526, and it has 6 lighted fields. It's got 4 soccer fields and 2 baseball fields. Okay. We also have Etowah Park on the island, and it has 1 field, no lights. And then down here at Freedom Park, which is directly behind the school, we've got 2 fields or 1 big, 1 larger field, no lights. So when we're programming for Daniel Island, these are the only fields that we can use to have lights on for practices or games. Trying to have everything happen here and here requires that everything has to happen between 5 and 6:30. Until it really gets further in the day. So that's kind of where we're constrained on Daniel Island. So when we get a group that says, hey, we want to have a lacrosse team from Daniel Island. They're asking for a field in one of these field areas here. And right now I'm going into the spring. Well, this is last year's numbers. I don't know. Are you close to 1,000? 960. We're almost at 1,000 now. So you see what numbers we have between baseball, softball, soccer, and lacrosse that we're trying to fit into those same parameters. So that's kind of one of the areas where we have this. So if I go to the next area, this is James Island and two scenes. So here's the James Island Rec Center, which most of you all know is kind of the hub of where we do things. We have a gym there, 4 lighted youth fields. Down the road, we have baby soccer complex that has some lighted fields. And then if you come over on the other side of James Island, which is actually would be up there, you've got Plymouth Park. We have access to Medway, but we don't actually own that field. That's owned by the school. This field has no lights. So again, if a private baseball team says we want to have a travel baseball team and we're not going to play with y'all and we want our own field, they're asking for a field that falls in some of those. It's not a neighborhood park now. Government Park, I know you're like, well, why did you put Honey Hill on there? Well, Honey Hill is there. It has no restrooms. It has no lights. It has very limited parking. And we have a neighborhood that has a very strong connection to it.
Same with Westchester.
Same with Thomas Johnson. Yeah, same thing. So they are fields that exist. It's just very difficult for me to put a group out there. They have their own uses in their own area and they have a very strong bond with that. We do permit an all African American, historically in our community called the Coastal Softball League. And it's an adult softball league. They ask to use it, so we permit that. They've played there for years, so that kind of works there. But we do have a couple other fields, but they're not, and when we don't have lights on the field, Jason's crew doesn't have irrigation to that, and we don't do any kind of chemicals. So there's no pre-emergent put down, there's no pest control, there's nothing that. It's just a field. So that's kind of the differentiation between the two. If you drive here with the light, those fields have been irrigated. If you go up here to Plymouth Park, that little field doesn't have any lights, no irrigation, there's none of those things. It works for us though. On Johns Island, the city has these fields on Johns Island right there, the lighted fields. And then we have the soccer field that's also out there at Johns Island Park, but that's what we have right now to serve that whole area. And we're working really closely right now with St. John's High School who want to add to our joint use agreement with the school district to allow them to make some improvements out there that would allow their softball and baseball teams to use that for their home site. Want to go to the downtown area. This is up in the neck. This is Stanley Chisholm. These 3 fields are kind of multi-purpose field. They're used for lacrosse or for rugby. They can use for soccer. They do not have lights. We've got Gadsdenboro, which is across from the aquarium. Those fields are one large field. We actually use it in a couple smaller fields, but there's no lights there. Here's Bull Creek, that we were talking about with pickleball. So we have one field there that we still have a rectangle. We added a couple more courts. Farman Park's got lighted fields. Stoney's got itself a lighted field with a great curve. And then we've got a man, which a lot of people end up calling Hampton, which is right there on Rutland, that has a lighted field. But Stoney Field's getting a lot of use right now with Vernon High School, which we're all happy about. We kind of saw that. What was it they told us, Rick? They don't even have a track team. Well, we built the track and insisted it. And so now guess what they've got out there? They've got 40 or 50 kids out there every day running track. So it's exactly what we wanted. But Burke's using Stoney Field for that program for their football. They have step. They have their band practices. They did not have a soccer team this year. They will have baseball and softball across at farm, and they have the ability to use that. So those are the ways that we're kind of working with those folks. And then the last area, West Ashley. So if you start in outer West Ashley, right now we have Dean's Landing. Those are lighted fields. West Ashley Park. We've got 4 soccer, 4 baseball fields, the youth fields. Mary UC, which is the best draining field I've ever seen in my whole life. It's orange grove. It can rain sideways for 6 inches, and I think they can still go play out there. Got lights. When Forest Park, which is behind WLC Stevens swimming pool, it has lights there as well. And that's it. That's what we have to program those numbers. So when you start getting the phone calls from friends that say, hey, my friend's got an 11-year-old child that plays in Kingwood soccer, can we have a field for practice? These are the groups that, even though we have our own needs, we already work with these groups to permit them. So Ebony Soccer, Kingwood Soccer Club on our gang around, the James Army Soccer Club, we share that property at Baby with them. The Charleston Rugby Club has a men's and a women's team, and we let them use standard prism. Pittsburgh Cross has a memorandum of agreement with the city. It actually expired during COVID, and they've not had a rec program since then. So Jason and I met with those folks 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they're kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do with themselves. But that joint use agreement may not see it in effect after that. We permit fields to coastal lacrosse, palmetto lacrosse, hurricane lacrosse, bingo lacrosse, lowlights, the Little Bulldogs AAU travel football team. For the West African Wildcats, we permit them field for AAU travel. Barrier Island Little League is actually Johns Island. They have outgrown their little complex there by the water company on Maybanks. We've got Libby Field at Johns Island. The Sea Island Softball League is the one I just mentioned at Hunt Hill. St. John is using our fields now for baseball and softball. And of course, we've got for football, band, baseball, softball, soccer, step team, and the track. So those are the groups that our city works with in addition to the programs that we're running now. And I know that folks ride by a field and they say, wow, I rode by the field and there was nobody on it at 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock, there's not going to be anybody on it except maybe Jason's guys getting it ready. But that's when our kids will be out there in those afternoon hours from 4 until, and then we don't do our adult sports until after 7:30 because I'm trying to give those kids an early time slots. And we just kind of balance everybody's needs with what we have. If there's an empty time that a field's not being used and the field's in good shape, we have no problem renting it out to somebody. But then Jason and I have this dance that we do together where he builds wonderful fields and they take care of them. And then we go out and use them and then they get torn up. And then I go, Jason, hey, take care of my field. And he says, well, don't use them so much. And so it's this back and forth that we're all doing all the time. But this is what we currently have. So I know Councilmember Saccharine, you had some interest in how do we let people know about our programs? So our marketing efforts, although they're very inexpensive, they're very broad. So we have the reader boards that you see across the city. We use Constant Contact, our website. We have social media. We use flyers. We send emails out to folks when they're already planning our program. Hey, it's time to register for the next program. But that's how we get the word out. We do brochures. We try to tap into every household, realizing that one way doesn't work for everyone. Our registration, it used to be all in person. Now we have an online component of that as well. Through RecTrack, the city invested some money in that, and we have that. 2 out of 3 transactions that we have now are done online. Those are people that don't have to get in their car, that can sign up for summer camp in their pajamas and never leave their house. And that's the kind of customer service I think we're all trying to give. And then the joint use agreement, you asked about our relationship with the school district. So Charleston County School District and the city have had a joint use agreement going back since the 70s. Jason and I updated it 4 or 5 years ago, but we're actually working on it again now because we've added Stony Field. The maintenance of that needs to go in. And then we're also contemplating what will happen at Johns Island Park with St. John's. But the reality of that agreement is the school district says, hey, city, anytime we're not using our gym, you can use it. And that's a great offer. The problem is they use their gyms every day, every night. So we don't get access to those gyms. We do get some time at Camp Road School, not in their gym, but on their athletic field, as well as Ravenel Stadium in West Ashley. We end up using that field a good bit. And so that works well for us. And then we provide the field, as you know, for Burke and then for St. John's. But that's kind of the way that relationship goes. When the schools are using the gyms in the winter months, that's when we need it. And so they're not available to us. So, Councilmember Saccharine, I don't know if I hit all your points, but I wanted to make sure I tried to answer some questions so that you know, it's better understanding of what we have and how we have it and how we cut that pie up. But we're getting ready to start our busiest season. We've had a lot of rain in the last few weeks. The fields at Governor's right now are very wet. I know that some of West Ashley Park's wet. All of those places are just wet. So we're trying to minimize the use. There's not a whole lot permitted going on, but in the next couple of weeks, you'll start seeing a lot of folks out there. So I will be quiet now and answer questions as best I can.
Thank you. Councilmember Saccharine.
Thank you, Lori, and I really appreciate this. This is tremendously helpful for me to see kind of the bigger picture. I'm not sure if we've had this since I started, but it's helpful, particularly the point around the field, lack of field space. So with the joint use agreement with CCSD, have we asked them, or is there opportunity for us to use some of the fields that might be in play in some of our locations? Because I've had calls, not from the city council side, from my other role, from community members, basically displeased with the lack of access to some of the school district facilities at night. Many municipalities, many cities across the country, those facilities are often a little bit more open for community members to use. So I'm just wondering if with our joint use agreement, are any of the fields in play in that agreement?
So yes, that's a great question. And in a lot of places across the United States that happens. It even happens over in Mount Pleasant in a couple of fields. They've managed to work some things out. But for the most part, our elementary and middle school don't have outside areas for themselves, much less for us. When the high schools are going in their season between JV, varsity, girls and boys, there's not anything else left field wise to use. So that kind of hampers what we can do. We do use Ravenel. We work very closely with Steve Kugelman, and we use Camp Road Middle, since both of those campuses used to have high schools on them, and they have those fields that are stadium fields that drain and have lights and everything, and they don't have high schools on them now. We're able to access those in the evenings and on Saturdays. So let me tell you one other challenge is if this wasn't hard enough, on Saturdays, when the Citadel has a home football game in the fall, which will be when we're playing football, we can't use Stony Field because we can't get parking in and out of there. When they play a day game, that quadrant is consumed by Citadel folks, and Mr. Eccles can agree with me a little bit on that. I know he sees where the parking goes. So we can't get our own teams, our own, kids and umpires and referees in and out of there. So on those Saturdays, thank goodness we have Ravenel because we do use that. So we're even a little hampered by what goes on around us in some areas, not just what goes on our field.
Thank you, Lori. The only other, I guess, piece that I would like more information or more clarity on would be overall, what are some of your biggest challenges? Certainly the change in hourly rates has probably helped, but I guess I would like to hear from you. Has that helped with the hiring? And as we head into the summer with some of the challenges we had last year with swim lessons and manning our pools?
So that's a great question. And I hope that the crystal ball on that will become a little clearer here in time. I can tell you that for full-time employees, there's been a huge morale boost and interest in jobs. I've seen people excited because they are making more money. We've had some people applying for some full-time jobs. The world of part-time is still very difficult. And I don't know if you're seeing that in your kaleidoscope programs or not, but we're still having a hard time, even at that hourly rate of finding really good folks to apply. But we're going to continue to use our efforts working with HR to get that word out. So our staffing is always an issue. If we didn't have great coordinators, there's no way this program would run because you've got 3,000 volunteers to supervise. You got 1,000 kids to supervise, plus their parents and grandparents and the dogs they bring to the field when you're not supposed to have dogs on the field and everybody else that's out watching it. And it's those staff that are doing that. We just don't have any part-time staff right now. But the second part of that, in answering your question about the summer is I knew after last summer, we couldn't sit around and wait. And so I had talked to the mayor several months ago about the idea of trying to figure out, could we find a company to privatize our seasonal lifeguards, paying about the same thing, but they'd be out really recruiting for those folks and trying to market and onboard, take some of the stress off of our staff and let them actually do programming. So we have a contract coming to city council at our next meeting that would be for securing seasonal lifeguard services. So those would be Herbert Hazel, James Allen Rec Center, and W.L. Stevens pools. The staff at MLK is a year-round pool, so we'll keep all that staff there.
Lori, we actually have that on this agenda.
It's on, yeah, it is on this agenda for you, but it'll come to city council in the
Okay.
next one. So, and I don't think you have the contract, but you have, I was just going to talk about that so that you all be aware of it. But that was the way we were going to try to get ahead of the summer. because we really have not had more people come knocking on our doors trying to get certified. We've got 6 lifeguard certification programs set up between now and May, that we can certify guards because we've got so many open positions right now. Oh, Mallory's online. Mallory's been working with us. How are you doing on that contract, Mallory?
It's coming. I think we've almost have the contract finalized. Do y'all want me to go into number 9 now or wait?
Councilmember Saccharin, did you have any other questions, or is anybody before we go that far? Councilmember Saccharin, anything else other outside of lifeguarding?
I know we had 3:00. I appreciate you all indulging me. I do have one more question for Lori, just about the communications piece. Well, two suggestions. So what we found in Kaleidoscope, believe it or not, is the good old lawn signs. We get about 80% of our folks hired through our lawn signs, and we just post those around the schools. So I would encourage you all to, and I know you all use them, but particularly when there's signups, new enrollments for the sports, or if you're looking to hire, the lawn signs really work well and they're cheap. The second thing I was going to mention, Lori, was on the donation side, when you're looking for sponsorship, I think the sponsorship numbers could be a little bit higher, and this might be something you could pass back into the enterprise manager's portfolio of work at looking at other places. But, for example, to sponsor a team, that number could be a bit higher, and some of that money could actually go to the volunteer coach to pay them a small stipend. So all I'm saying is I think we probably can get that number a bit higher and get more from some of the business partners.
We are working hard on that. Mr. O'Rourke has put a nice gold mine setting out there for me to try to find those dollars. So we're looking hard for them in the city. But yes, that is absolutely what we need to do, is continue to market and find those resources and those revenues. So thank you for that idea.
Anything else, Councilmember Saccharin?
I'm good.
All right, we're good. Okay. All right, Caroline, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Lori. That's incredible. You guys do incredible work. I do just want to say this, Councilmember Saccharin, I know I saw similar emails, and Mr. Mayor, maybe you can back me up here or not, but I know our city fields, especially when it comes to city recreation, I mean, these teams and these families and these participants that sign up at a great rate, all run by volunteers and our wonderful staff. I mean, that's our priority come the season, correct, Lori? And of course, we want to have these partnerships with these outside companies. And like you said, we welcome it, but I think that to be, with the baseball leagues that want permits and things, we can do that outside of the times that we are scheduling our city recreation folks, correct?
And if we can't schedule it outside, then we have to say no.
Right.
And so-
I think
there
that's
is a
the
process for
yeah.
that. And for the groups that want to take an off-field or an alternative, or say, yeah, we'll go on a Sunday afternoon because we don't do youth sports on Sunday. So it does work if you're willing to work with us a little bit.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Councilmember Saccharin, did you have something else?
Yeah, just for clarity, when I said the donations and sponsorship, I wasn't referring to some of these outside companies. What I was referring to is, for example, I sponsored my child's city league, and the sponsorship was like $300 or something like that for my business. I would happily pay $1,000 for that sponsorship if that would help recruit and attract coaches to stay with us. That's what I was referring to in terms of the sponsorship money.
I'm gonna have Justin call you this afternoon, okay?
Happy to do.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's clear to all of us that, we're really trying to max out the resources, the facilities that we do have, and this will morph into our discussion at the next meeting. But it seems to me to add some more turf at some of our fields, and to add some more lights, to expand the hours that we can operate at would be a very positive thing to continue to increase our capacity. And I know this probably will bring the same kind of response from CCSD with our partnership with them. But let's not forget you work with Berkeley County already, correct? Or
So
or maybe not.
Berkeley County
Yeah.
has, we don't have a joint use agreement, but when the Freedom Park School was built adjacent to the school, that land property, and Jason can probably speak to that a little better, was a shared relationship. So we do have 500 hours a year of access to their gym
Right.
during non-school times.
Right.
They use our fields for PE and recess. And then we have those fields in the afternoon after they're done. So that's been a nice relationship.
That's nice. And so, we need them more than they need us, but with the schools on the Cainhoy Peninsula, until we get some facilities up there, we need to probably take an extra step in trying to further our relationship with Berkeley County Schools. And I know you spoke a few years ago with Ashley Hall, but there's some other schools out there, private schools that we could partner with. I know First Baptist has a nice facility out on James Island. And we could ask some other schools and even the colleges to see if there are any opportunities out there to share. And sometimes that could mean, us investing in their facility or ours. I know we have an agreement coming forward, if it's not already in place, with the Charleston County School District to do some improvements at our Johns Island baseball fields, right?
Yes.
And maybe there's a school asset somewhere that needs lights. And the city could invest in a school property. But anyway, we need to look at all those possibilities, not just Charleston County School District, but the other schools and institutions in our city.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Well, we'll move on to the seasonal lifeguard contract. I guess I'll call back on Lori, who will call on Mallory, I guess.
Yeah, so hopefully Mallory's got a little bit more information, but we've been working that. We did an RFP. We had one company that we were familiar with that does work in the Carolinas and Georgia, finding seasonal aquatic staff. And so they did reach out and they applied to the RFP and we accepted their proposal. So we've been working through the contract. So hopefully Mallory's got an update.
I do. Thank you, Lori. And Lori kind of covered the background. They were the one proposal we submitted, but they do appear to be a very good fit with the city. We did meet with a vendor a week from Friday, and we're just hashing out just a couple of final details. The contract that is in your packet is probably 98% of what we're going to do. I'm just waiting for, I've got verbal confirmation that I think we're all in agreement, but I've been hoping that this morning, after I sent revisions yesterday, that they would, that I'd have confirmation. So the goal is that it'll be on the final version will be on the next city council agenda. So I would just ask that it get approved with me, with my permission to finalize any negotiation.
Great.
And we'll be using our seasonal money that came from the budget under aquatics. That money will be used for the contract. So the money is there. Our CFO told me today that she thought if she froze one other position, she could almost make the swap even that way. So they're going to be paying what we would pay. I think the savings to the city is that instead of our HR, which is trying to find firefighters and police officers and scorekeepers and clerks, these folks they specialize in aquatic staff, and they are out in the street running on that. And then our aquatic staff can focus on programming and managing pools instead of hiring 16-year-old summer lifeguards and training them.
Okay, great. Any questions? I guess I have a question. There'll be employees of this USA Management, I'm assuming, but that lifeguard would report to our pool manager, who's a city employee. Is that correct? And that.
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay.
the state DHEC requires that you have a CPO, a certified pool operator for each of your pools. So that will be a city staff person. We have those on staff. And so USA Management already has our schedule. They'll schedule the lifeguards. They'll know when we have open rec swim, when we have swim team, when we have lap swim, whatever. They'll have those folks staffed for that appropriately, and we'll just be managing the pool, taking up money, making sure the locker rooms are ready to go and clean and the pool deck chairs are out. We'll be managing those kind of things.
Okay, so the pool manager, I guess, would have the ability to say, hey, this person's doing a great job or this person's not cutting it. We need somebody else.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And all of the lifeguards have to be certified. So either they will be certified upon the time that USA Management hires them or when our season starts and USA Management has that. So all of that certification will go through them. They'll be certified in the same groups that we are certified at our year-round pool. So it should be very transparent and to the general public. You shouldn't see a difference.
Okay, great. I guess my only other question, are we still offering any bonus opportunities?
So the city has a bonus opportunity for those positions, those seasonal positions through USA Management. That's up to them if they decide to do something like that.
Okay, great. But at no time USA Management won't be paying more to their seasonal as we are to our city employees. Is that?
The only way something weird would happen would be if they hired somebody with a lot more experience, say a school teacher that was 45 years old that had been, and came and worked in the summer versus one of our younger college age. That would be really the only way that could be a difference.
Okay.
And none of the things that come out of city workers' paychecks would come out of these paychecks for USA Management.
Okay, great. Any other questions from council members? Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just think that I'm fully supportive and behind it. If this means our pools open and kids swimming. I think it's great.
That's what
Yeah.
we're all trying for. I have not seen the climate change in the hiring process or the number of people interested in jobs. So to sit and wait on something coming up in May, I would not be doing a service to the citizens of Charleston if we didn't try to do something differently.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody else? All right, we do need to vote on this for it to go to city council. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve this lifeguard contract?
Make a motion to contract.
I'm sorry, did you say so moved?
So moved.
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving this contract, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And if there's nothing else to come before this committee, we stand adjourned and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks.